question in regards to the buyer's estimated cash worksheet.
Yep.
Is there any way to get all of the fields to print without you, I don't know how to say this. It seems that I need to have all of the information in order for it to print, because when I try to just put like just the little heading and just like the name, then nothing else printed. But this is something that I really want, like those questions, I'd like the buyer to kind of go through it, but it seems like it's something I need to do. Can you tell me how to work with that?
Yeah, so the buyer's estimated cash sheet, I'll look at how it was set up in Legito. If it's set up correctly, what should happen is you should, within Legito, once you have populated the, top information, you should share it with your buyer. Do it using an external share, the same way that you share a seller disclosure with the seller for them to complete it. So you would share this with the buyer for them to complete it. I can tell you that this buyer estimated cash sheet, I rarely, I provide it to the buyer, but as most of the buyers are not going to provide all that information back to me, because quite frankly, it's none of my business, you know? And I tell them that. I say, hey, if you want, this is for your use. If you want to use it, great. If you don't want to use it, that's fine too. I know EXP Commercial, in their business broker checklist in SkySlope, they had it as a required document. I don't know if it's still a required document. I haven't looked at it recently. But they had it as a required document in SkySlope, and I would just put a note in that little comment next to the checklist that buyer refuses to provide, says it's not my business. I mean, it's just because they're asking about what your anticipated CPA fees are going to be, what your anticipated legal fees are going to be for due diligence. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on there that's just that's not our business. It really is for the buyer. So they can maintain their own budget, so they can anticipate their own costs, but it's not really anything that we as brokers need to know. They will ask about escrow fees, the closing costs and things. So to that extent, if you know the size of transaction, you can contact your escrow officer and ask, what will the buyer's share of escrow fees be on this approximately? And they'll give you usually a range. Use the high. Yeah. Don't use the low on the range. You always, it's always better to tell them it's going to cost more and then have them get, favorable results on their closing, on their settlement statement. So, but I'll check how that's set up, because that's one of those. When we converted all the forms over to Legito, we were really focused on the forms that are used on a regular basis, being the, seller rep agreement, the purchase agreements, and all of that. Yeah. And some of these other ancillary agreements kind of drop to the bottom of the priority list. But I will check on it and I'll let you know. Because like I said, I think really it's just one where you do an external share with the buyer and let them fill it in if they want to. Other thing you can do is put like a period, unless the fields have been defined as numeric, which I don't think they have. Well, they might, because it does add them up. Anyhow, I don't know. I'll look, but you can try putting like a dot in each one of them instead, or put in, because if you put a 0, I don't think they'll print, but if you put a dot in there, I think they will. Okay. Or you could put in like a 1. Because if it requires a number, you could try putting in a 1 or a 0, okay, and it should print it out that way. Okay. So you can test it out.
Because I like to see things before I share it with the client. So I guess that's my, okay. Thank you.
Sure.